Monday, March 21st. So I found out what Trudeau was doing in Alliston, Ontario last Thursday. He was up at the Honda plant with Slug Ford, our provincial premier, announcing we're going to give some big bucks, both provincially and federally, taxpayer money, to help poor little Honda out as they switch to EV production. There's some good thinking, yeah. This after he just recently sold all of Canada's lithium deposits, Trudeau that is, to our friends, the Communist Chinese. Yeah, okay. In other news, Trudeau assigns our Governor General to build ties with Sharia law compliant nations. Yeah. If you don't know about Sharia law, especially if you're a member of the fairer sex, you might want to look into that. Ironically, our Governor General, the last time I checked, is a woman. Hard to say. Trudeau switches his cabinet around at a moment's notice. Well, without any notice. Although technically he's not supposed to appoint the Governor General, but, well, that's how our boy rolls. Our country was covered in red flags, red and white. This flag, all weekend long, across from one end to the other. The Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, all the way out through. Calgary was interesting. I'll come to that in a minute. Here in southern Ontario, if you're not familiar with it, our 400 series highways are the big ones. The 401 goes east-west, the 400 goes north-south, there's 402, 403, 407. Anyways, you couldn't travel 20 minutes across that highway and not see big protests. Queen's Park in Toronto, our provincial legislation was so full of protesters they spilled out into Vaughan, Hamilton, London, you name it, everywhere. I think a lot of people were headed to a rally and just found one en route. We'll save the $2 a liter fuel and just do our thing here. What's interesting in Calgary, now they've been protesting in Calgary every weekend for quite some time. The chief of police announced on Thursday, just past, that they had an emergency court injunction to respond with more police powers. Chief of police seems like a nice guy who's pretty relaxed, well-spoken, articulate. What did he say? Oh, yes. He called the protesters, the freedom protesters, he referred to them as anti-democracy protesters. Yeah. Perhaps he got called back. He's been vacationing off planet. I don't know. Maybe he only watches his news on the television as recommended by the BC premier. Perhaps he's mistaken as to the meaning of the word democracy. I'm not sure. There's quite a contingent of anti-protesters in Calgary. The mainstream media, or propaganda parrots, now refer to them as home protesters. Well, yeah. I watched some footage from Calgary. The home protesters, or the anti-protesters, they're loud, they curse a lot, they're aggressive. One might suspect there's Antifa or government-paid agitators there. There was one interesting incident. This guy's cursing the anti-democracy protesters. Still, just that kills me. Cursing them, shouting, "Go home, go home." A lot of cursing. And this guy's going, "I am home. I live in Calgary. I've lived here all my life. I live 2 blocks away." The guy just keeps screaming and cursing at him, "Go home." He's going, no, hey, are you not listening? I am at home. This park we're in right now, I walk my dog here twice a day. Haven't got my dog with me, but I got my little pooper scooper baggies right here. I'm telling you, I am at home, buddy. But he's checking his notes, right? The anti-protester, he's checking his notes. Ooh, there's no note for this one, so he just goes back to cursing the guy. The police were pushing back with their bicycles, driving out the regular protesters, but just leaving the anti-protest protesters there to scream and curse. Seemed to be a bit of a bias there, actually. Now, I wonder what Trudeau's going to do with all this. I mean, Ottawa was one place, right? He had 2,800 boots on the ground, pairs of boots. How many were imported from the UN, nobody knows. 4 people were arrested, 200 odd people roughly were detained for a few hours, and 58 vehicles were impounded. Just as a refresher. So, how's he going to deal with this all across the country? I'm very interested to see what happens in Parliament this week. It's going to be hard to ignore the small fringe minority at this point. So, we got a lot of catching up to do. That's it for this one. As always, thanks for listening.